Hi foodies, so today I'm going to be trying a very simple recipe but with my little twist in it. And the best part is that I have something very interesting to try it with. It's called the Don Chilio chilies. And these are so good. I've had it in so many different ways. I'm going to show you my favorite way to use them, but you can use these with pastas, you can use these with Mexican food, you can use them in as a chutney. So these are fried chilies, as you can see. These are so yum, and they come in three different flavors, three different types. This is the habanero, which is the hottest one, my favorite. We have the jalapenos; those are the mildest ones. And then we have the in-between for the guys who want to be a little risky. It's the serrano chilies, and they're all yummy fried chilies. And they smell so good, they taste so good. And I'm going to try these in a spaghetti aglio olio with lots of herbs in it. It's going to be a nice herby spaghetti pasta. Rosemary is very strong, so I don't want to take too much of it, but I'm going to take maybe 2 twigs of rosemary. So I have all this wild sage growing in my backyard, and I love it because I don't usually use it often, and I think sage is a acquired taste. I do want to use it in my pasta though, because I think that's where it suits the most. I don't know many dishes that use sage. I have made, sage iced tea and a sage pesto, but beyond that I haven't really used it. So I'm going to just pluck a few leaves, maybe 5 or 6, just because of the taste being so strong. So we're going to chop all our herbs. And if you're not one of those in the kitchen that likes to do the chopping like me, I took a class at the Natural Gourmet Institute called Basic Knife Skills. And I can tell you that has really helped me in not just saving time, but also learning how to chop things in different ways. So we want to julienne these. We want to make them like thin strips. So what I do is I bunch up all the leaves, sage and basil together, doesn't matter, because we're using both. And we just have to roll them like this, like a roll. And then you just chop them really thin like that. So you'll see how you get like thin, lovely ribbon of herbs. They're little slender ribbons, which look good too in a pasta. And remember, I'm not washing my herbs before I chop them, because it's very hard to chop wet, damp, and limp herbs or leaves. And then I've got these lemon thymes. I'm not going to use the stems of these because it's such a strong taste. So I'm just going to, pull these off the twig, just like this. And I'm going to be ready to wash them now. And now it's my favorite part, roasting the garlic. I love doing it because I love the smell of it, and it just becomes so nice and caramelized than usually frying garlic. And that's what you would usually do in your spaghetti aglio olio. Today I want to try it with some caramelized garlic. So I've taken the full clove right here, and I'm putting it in this little container, a little Le Creuset container, and I'm going to add some olive oil to that. I'm just going to drizzle over it. I usually use a Trader Joe's olive oil. I'm going to drizzle the whole thing just like this. As you can see, I'm going to cover it, and then I'm going to use my little toaster oven. I don't want to use the big oven because it just takes too much longer. This heats up quickly. It takes no time, and I don't need to start the big oven and wait for it to preheat. So I'm just going to put this on maybe a broil, and then turn up the heat to maybe, I would say 400, 450, depending on how impatient you are. I'm very impatient. So, and I'm going to just pop this in right there. As you can see, right there. Okay, We have our timer set. I would put it for about 15 to 20 minutes. And the reason I do that is because it should get really nicely cooked. Otherwise, it has that raw garlic flavor, which doesn't taste very nice in pasta. So we'll come back and check on this. So I'm going to drain the spaghetti now that it's done, but I'm going to collect the spaghetti water because that's what makes it nice and starchy. So I have a little bowl underneath the strainer to collect it so I can use the water for my cooking later. So let us check on our garlic. Hopefully it's done by now. I had to increase the time to about 35 minutes, but you see how nice and sizzling golden brown it is? This is perfect. I think it's done. So I'm gonna pull it out of the container and then I'm gonna chop it really. So I soaked these lima beans for about 4 hours beforehand. If you don't have that much time on hand, just soak them in warm water or hot water for about 2 hours, 1 or 2 hours, and they should be fine to boil. All right, so now I have boiled my lima beans, and the reason I want to use these are because they're very high in protein, and I'll tell you more about it. Let's start the stove at medium heat, or you can even go a little higher, I think. And let's pour some olive oil in it. Remember that we don't need much because we're going to use the starch from the pasta. So that kind of makes it nice and wet and you don't need that much oil for it. So that's the best part. So I'm going to heat up the oil a little bit and I'm going to start with, oh, by the way, I want to show you my garlic. It's turned out so good. So I'm going to start with just heating the oil and then tossing the herbs in there because I want to fry them a little bit. I want them to get a little more crispy. So you can taste it when you're biting into it. And these are all my herbs: the basil, sage, rosemary, chives, lemon thyme, everything all mixed together. And we're gonna lightly saute them. Might need a little more. By the way, you know about my cooking spray, right? I use this bottle. I put any oil that I want, and it's just a spray bottle, an old spray bottle that I washed up, and I use it to spray oil so I don't have to spray too much. I'm so excited to use the Don Chili or chilies, and I think this time I'm going to go for the sliced jalapenos, only because I feel like the flavor would go with spaghetti. The habanero is way too spicy for spaghetti because there's no other cream or any other sauce in this one. So we are just going to saute the chilies with the herbs. I'm going to take maybe 2 spoons. I'm going to get a little more, I'm going to be a little more risky. So this is how it looks. They're already fried, so you don't need to really fry them too much. But I'm going to toss like 2 spoonfuls of habaneros in there. And if you guys ever get a chance, you must go onto their website. They have some great recipes on their website too, and you can order them right online on their website. It is called Don Chilio, and I would go for all 3. If you ask me which one's my favorite, I like the habanero, but I would go for all 3. So here are my herbs already sauteed. I'm going to toss the lima beans. Now, I was telling you about the protein in lima beans. As us vegetarians, or vegans for that matter, lima beans have about 20 grams of protein in 1 cup, which I think is great, and it's far more than most beans I've cooked with. Plus, I like that taste. I think it's very buttery. Goes well with continental food, and it's not too heavy. You know, I've had lima bean salad, I've had these kind of things, and they're not very heavy to digest, which is great, unlike other beans. So I used about 1 cup of lima beans. And I'm going to toss in my garlic. So these garlic cloves were so interesting when I was trying to open up the cloves. So you just smash the clove and then you just peel everything off, scoop out the flesh, and that's what you get. And I cannot tell you how much in love I am with roasted garlic. What I've seen is in restaurants, one of the restaurants I went to, one of my favorite pizza restaurants up in Piermont, actually roasted the entire garlic, smashed it and put it on top of a pizza and served it, which was really yummy. So now I have everything roasted pretty well. I'm going to add the water. Remember, we saved the water from the pasta. Another thing I do with this is I save most of it if I don't use it, and I use it to thicken any of my sauces. It doesn't have to be a pasta sauce. It could be anything. And I use it to thicken some of my sauces. So I save it, I freeze it, or you can even put it in the refrigerator and it's fine. It's basically semolina starch, which is, I think, better than cornstarch. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and pour that. About 1/2 cup. Of course, I washed the spaghetti in cold water before I tossed it in here because you want to make sure that it's separate and it's not sticky. So I washed all of it in cold water, let it drain out again. And then, you know, the oil from this garlic that I had, I tossed it in there and kind of stirred it so that it has a little bit of garlicky olive oil flavor already. And I think I'm not going to cook it for any longer. I think we're done. I'm going to plate it and we are ready. Dinner is served.